This is Bryan Mills with AdvzrTek. Today's guest with Dialogue 2.0 is Marc Chaikin from Chaikin Analytics. Hi, Marc. How are you?
Bryan, hi. How are you? Good to be here.
Thank you so much. Those of you that may or may not know Marc, he is a stock expert, which has found Chaikin Analytics that delivers professional quality stock research and investing resources to help self-directed investors, institutional analysts, as well as brokers with the same edge as any would have to put them on the same platform. The trader, broker, fundamental, and quantitative analysis that he's been doing literally since 1965 in the industry during his Wall Street career, he's invented a few very unique things. One is technical trading indicators, the widely used Chaikin Oscillator, the Chaikin Accumulator distribution indicator, and the Chaikin persistence of money flow, which, for those of you who are familiar with Investors Business Daily, is the accumulation distribution rating that it's based upon. Now, his indicators and predictive value has made them the quote-unquote de facto standards in most technical analysis software packages. One of the things I wanted to ask you after introducing you, Marc, why did you start Chaikin Analytics? What brought you into your current work?
Bryan, I started Chaikin Analytics in 2009 in the aftermath of the financial collapse of '08 because I wanted to bring individual investors professional quality tools and level the playing field so that they could take better control of their financial future. We've now segued back to our roots in the institutional community, and with the iPad and desktop versions of Chaikin Analytics, we're now providing these analytics to both individual investors and institutional investors.
Okay. When you first started out, did you always want to be in finance back in '65, even prior to that?
Oh, yes. In college, I read the financial pages instead of listening to my professor, and I was motivated by the sort of appeal of the numbers. I just watched stocks go up and down. In those days, there were some high-flying stocks in the early '60s, and I was fascinated with the fact and the notion that you could make money if you could figure out the price patterns, and patterns have been always a big part of what I've done in the stock market and before I got involved.
Okay. Looking at your tools and services, in particular, a lot of the things that I've mentioned have always been institutional grade. Now you're really kind of making your services and products more accessible to not only the individual investors, but to the average broker, advisor, home office, and who may it be. And you've now taken and packaged it utilizing tablet computing. Can you elaborate on that and share with me, your feelings on tablet computing and why you've taken your platform originally from a desktop to an iPad?
The desktop, if you will, is investing 1.0. It's where we all got started in the 80s and 90s. Providing analytics to institutions and then accessing them on the internet. But as we've gone around to the advisor community and as we've talked to high net worth individuals who use advisors, we've found that mobile technology is one of the demands that the clients are putting on the advisor. And the reason is they want to feel that the advisor is always aware of what's happening in the market, and more particularly in the client portfolio. So in a face-to-face meeting between an advisor and his client, the ability to show on an iPad the client's portfolio through the lens of a third-party research application like Chaikin Analytics accomplishes two things. A, it says to the client, you're important and I understand what you're looking for, and that's better information and faster access. And two, I understand the technology that's available today, and I'm using that to better monitor your account and to have a better dialogue with you about the stocks that you own or are looking at.
So really, at the end of the day, you went from 1.0 to really 2.0 and beyond and made your analysis like a true complement to an advisor, because that's what I was going to ask you. How do you see Chaikin Analytics as an advantage or as a help to the average advisor, stockbroker, or financial professional? And you've answered that beautifully. To looking at it as a front-facing, to be sitting with a customer or a client, that's fantastic. Do you find, and have you had a lot of feedback from advisors and users that they found it to be quite helpful in these meetings?
We have, Brian. I'd actually call this investing 3.0 because not only are we providing analytics, but there's an embedded alpha model or quantitative model within Chaikin Analytics. And therein lies the power of the combination of technical analysis and a very objective quantitative way of rating a stock. And the most compelling feedback that we've gotten is from an advisor who signed up for Chaikin Analytics about 3 months ago.
Okay. And
told us about a client meeting that he had where at the end of the meeting, the woman felt so confident about the advisor's grasp of what was going on that she put an additional $500,000 into her account with that advisor. And that is the power of Chaikin Analytics.
And that's fantastic, and I thank you for that, and I know the investment community does, because we are trying to do the best for our customers. We are trying to inform, and it can be rather murky in nature due to the amount of data that is not only disseminated to clients, but also to the advisors. And I think your service does offer a very level of clarity, not only through the visuals and the colors, but also understanding that the backbone of those mathematics and the analytics is true. One neat thing I just wanted to say I think was great is on your iPad app, when I'm able to enter in a stock and take a look at the information that it does provide, it's neat that you're able to turn the iPad sideways and recognize that due to the use of the service, and it tells you more information that you normally would not be able to see in a horizontal fashion. So what made you think of doing that?
When we looked at the iPad as a platform to deliver a true research and analytics product, my son Eric and I looked at all the user interface capability that the iPad had, which wasn't available on other tablets. And what fascinated us was the ability to turn the iPad. We operate, as you know, in landscape mode because that's where the chart provides the most information. But when you turn the iPad and put it into portrait mode, you get the ability to see a very nicely formatted PDF or PDF-like report. So
right.
Our portfolio analytics and our research reports on 5,000 stocks are all available by flipping the iPad, and this is really something that the advisor has gravitated toward and has really embraced, because from that report, the advisor can either email it to himself or to a client if there are no issues at his firm about doing that, or he can print it. And so this creates a sort of permanent record. And as you know, with FINRA and Dodd-Frank being such a presence in the broker or the advisor reality these days,
right.
Any documentation that an advisor can do makes both he and the firm much more comfortable about the interaction he's having with his clients. If I could share a funny anecdote with you.
Please, do so.
We did a desktop version of the app for places where the iPad is not vetted from an IT security point of view, and this would be trading rooms at large investment banks like UBS or Credit Suisse. So we launched the beta version of the desktop app with some people who had been using the iPad, and we actually got an email saying, I tried to rotate my computer screen, but it didn't work.
Oh, that's funny. That's
my favorite anecdote about the cross-pollination of iPad and computers.
It really is amazing. Thank you for sharing that story with us. Looking back on all the years you've been in the market, since literally you started in finance, what would be the one piece of technology that you really felt was a huge help and a huge push for your business?
I'm going to stretch out that answer. I started using the Apple II computer and CompuTrack software, which was the first commercial-grade software available for stock and commodities traders out of New Orleans, and then shifted to the IBM PC.
Okay.
But I'd say that the iPad is the most compelling piece of technology that I've encountered because of the ability, with the form factor and the size of the screen, to offer a true analytics and research capability to professional investors and individual traders and investors.
Now, Chaikin Analytics, whether you look at CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business, I mean, everybody's familiar with you. One of the thoughts is we all talk about predictions on stock. We talk about predictions on price movement. Where do you see Chaikin Analytics, let's say in the next 5 to 10 years, in your service and utilizing technology?
I think where we're headed, and I know we're headed here, is toward learning about the user, and the whole rationale behind Chaikin Analytics is focus. The ability to cut through the clutter and solve the information overload problem. But it's always been my desire, going back into the early 1990s, to have an intelligent analytical capability that understands what the user is interested in and pushes information to the user, assuming that the user doesn't object, which suggests potential investments or sales to eliminate stocks from a portfolio that may have serious downside potential. So I think where we're headed is a holistic approach to portfolio management and trading, which brings our analytics into the user's home or the user's sweet spot by learning what the user is interested in, not just from a thematic point of view, but actually using the DNA that we use to create our power gauge ratings, which is the core, and learning by induction what the user's preferences are. So just as a quick example,
sure, please.
If we asked you to, if we pushed you a list of 5 stocks because you asked for high yield investments in a browser in our app, and gave you the ability to accept or reject them, if I passed you Merck and Pfizer and Intel and Microsoft, and you rejected Microsoft and Intel, even though they had high yields, we could infer that you like high yields in the drug area, but not in the technology area. And really, this is where we're headed with the product. I want this product to be one step ahead of the user by understanding what their requirements are and understanding what their preferences are, and then pushing them useful information instead of just spreading the clutter, focusing the user on what's really important.
Right. This is fantastic, because basically what you're saying is you're seeing Chaikin as becoming not only an informational tool, but a learning tool that's learning what you're looking to do, how you're looking to do, and really what you're looking to do. Is that correct?
It is. Actually, if we had the time and the resources, I would consider some sort of intelligent learning capability within the product. I think that's a back burner wish list that's going to take some time to get to. But I think that both at the professional level and particularly at the individual investor level, that there's a learning curve that can easily be overcome by providing intelligent computerized feedback in terms of the types of tools that we're offering and how someone can better use them.
So I can talk to Siri and I can talk to Chaikin.
Yeah, I've always thought that there should be an avatar. I don't necessarily want it to be me, but I do believe in the whole avatar concept. I'm not sure what Siri looks like in your mind, but she and I have never gotten that friendly. But yes, talk to Chaikin, talk to Chuck, if you will, but some sort of an avatar that represents a trusted advisor, sort of what your stockbroker used to be. You know,
right.
When I started out in the business in 1966, the stockbroker was like your family doctor. You know,
right.
If you were young and starting out in business, you'd ask your father, well, I've got some money to invest. Who should I talk to? And he'd give you the name of his Merrill Lynch stockbroker.
Right.
Unfortunately, the world has changed, and stockbrokers are no longer held in that same kind of high regard. We think our product can help that problem by elevating the knowledge level of the stockbroker, but we would like to be thought of as that trusted advisor that fills the gap between the stockbroker that you no longer have.
I love to hear that because I myself have not been in the industry as long as you. I'm since 1991. And
nobody has, Brian. I'm sorry.
In a galaxy far away, right? I do remember the time when there were the place I would get my quotes from was the Quotrek or the Quotron, and the screen was black with green writing. When I tell people that are new to the industry, they're like, "What are you talking about? Black and green? I mean, everything's colorful now, you know."
Well, it is unless you use Bloomberg. Some people are just sticking to the old paradigm, but we do believe in color, as you know, in a lot of ways. And part of the way we transmit information is by the use of color. So we learned early on, after talking to some people at the Media Lab at MIT, that color is a very important way to convey information. And Edward Tufte, who teaches at Yale, has also popularized this concept. So our power gauge rating goes from red, bearish to green, and we've done that with Chaikin Money Flow from day one. And we're now doing that with relative strength. And although we don't want to overload the user with color, the fact that we can create knowledge and understanding using color, I think, is really important. Another reason to love the iPad because of the quality of the screen display and the ability to really gradate the colors in development without a lot of big development effort. So we love the iPad for a lot of reasons, and that's one of them.
It is a fantastic tool. Anything that you have coming up on the horizon outside of the desktop product that you'd like to share or can share, or is that a little too something that's being kept close undercover at this point?
Well, what we'd like to do is to create a holistic news feed, if you will, that is revolving around the stocks that you're interested in, the themes in the market that you're interested in. So we'd like to sort of embed our analytics in a more comprehensive news-oriented product. And I probably said as much as I should say about that. But it's not
I want to get you
away, not that far away, and other people are doing it. Think Flipboard for stocks, and or any of the music apps like Spotify. Some combination between Spotify and Flipboard for investors is where we're heading.
I love Flipboard as well. What a fantastic service.
Yeah, we're enamored with it. As you know, if you've talked to my son Eric, this is a paradigm that we've liked for a long, long time.
That's fantastic. Now, kind of wrapping things up, right now, what is the one thing, and I always ask this of guests on on Dialogue 2.0, what's the one gadget you can't do without that you always have on you? Whether I see you in the morning, day, night, I bump into a restaurant, or I see you on an elevator, what are you going to have on you?
The iPad Mini, because it fits in my coat pocket and it gives me access to Chaikin Analytics. It also gives me access to Google search. And one of the most powerful ways to use Chaikin Analytics is to occasionally go to a site like Yahoo Finance and see if you can unearth the why of the power gauge rating. In other words, if the power gauge rating is bearish on Yum Brands, I'll very often use the Safari browser and Google in the iPad Mini, and I'll find out that there's a whole series of articles about how China is a weak sales channel for Yum Brands, and sure enough, when they reported earnings 2 or 3 days ago, the weakness in China resulted in a huge shortfall. I felt that it's always important when you present information to have some sort of rationale, that everything should make sense. So if I'm talking to an investor about Yum Brands, and I see that the rating is bearish on the Chaikin Power Gauge, but I can also add that additional color that probably one of the reasons it's bearish is because analysts are looking at the China sales, and that's very important to Kentucky Fried Chicken. And it adds some credibility to have some color behind the gauge. And so iPad, the Safari browser, and Google are really my go-to tools, and I'm never without them.
Okay. Anything that you make calls on or anything of that nature? Use any particular phone? Are you an iPhone guy, an Android guy?
I've been an iPhone guy from day one. I think it does everything I want it to do. And we built our original app, Chaikin Power Tools, for the iPhone for a lot of the reasons that we use the iPad now for Chaikin Analytics. I think Android is great if you're a techie and you can really dig in and dive in, but the single form factor of the iPhone versus the multiple form factors of Android make it a no-brainer for me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's always fun to hear how people communicate, how they communicate to others, and of course, as always, it's a pleasure hearing from you, Mark. Truly, thank you so much for allowing us in your home in Pennsylvania. And what I would say is this. If anybody that is watching the Dialogue 2.0, please go check out www.chaikinpowertools.com. It's ChaikinPowertools.com. I do believe that you'll find an amazing amount of information that will not only be helpful, but could possibly have a huge impact on your business. And for all your app and technology reviews for you, the financial professional, go to www.AdvzrTek.com. Again, Mark, thank you so much for your time.
Bryan, thank you. And I might just point out that www.Chaikin Analytics will have more information on our iPad and desktop app. The Power Tools URL is more about the individual subscription services that we have. But thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope we get to do this again.
Thank you again. Talk to you soon.